I'm HG Tudor. Some time ago, in part 33 of Meghan Markle, a less than royal narcissist, I, pursuant to request, analysed their engagement interview. What I did at the time was watch the interview and then provide you with my observations on it. I didn't provide the interview alongside the comments so that you could see what was going on as I spoke about it. The analysis was very well received. Many people found it not only enlightening, but it illuminated them with regard to key questions that they had about the behaviours that it exhibited. It also led to a number of people contacting me saying that they hadn't realised they were involved with a narcissist until they watched that video. And that, of course, is one of the major reasons why I undertake this work through Harry's wife, is that it extends the reach of my work to people who ordinarily might not come across it. People recognise the name of Harry's wife. They're interested to understand more about why she behaves as she does. Some just have an itch that needs to be scratched. Others are completely perplexed about her behaviour and, of course, dislike her. And they want to understand what's behind the behaviours. And repeatedly, there are those who watch my videos about Harry's wife and contact me to explain, not only was this really interesting and I enjoyed listening, but it made me realise that there's a narcissist in my life. And that's a significant win. Accordingly, in light of the success that that analysis enjoyed, and to continue your education and to extend reach, what I have done is bring forth the actual visuals alongside the analysis. And therefore, you can now settle back and enjoy my detailed and forensic analysis of the engagement interview between Harry's wife and Harry. For many, this marked an indicator that something wasn't quite right. They didn't necessarily know that it was narcissism, indeed few did, but many people have commented that it was when they saw the engagement interview, something struck them as odd about Harry's wife's behaviours, that something was off about them, something didn't stack up, something didn't make sense. And then when they listened to my analysis, the parts clicked into place. Now, you can have that analysis alongside the visuals. Coming right after this.
Hello, I'm HG Tudor. Many of you will know that my work is all about explaining the world and the mindset of the narcissist, and that I utilise my considerable expertise and knowledge in this regard to give you insight with regard to how we behave, how we operate, and how we function. I cover many different aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, explaining to you the different facets and behaviours of different types of narcissist, our interactions with our victims, why we choose you, why we treat you in the way that we do, why we act as the way we do, giving you unrivaled knowledge and insight to enable you to understand what you're dealing with and to provide you with the steps that you need to take to remedy those situations. The ongoing saga, which involves Meghan Markle, is a very useful vehicle for the purposes of explaining to a wider audience the narcissistic dynamic and the various indicators that are present within that. And the vast majority of people understand that and recognise that is what it's there for. Some of the hard of understanding think that it is some kind of personal vendetta against Meghan Markle. It's not. I actually find her rather dull, but she serves an excellent vehicle because many, many people are interested in her and her dynamic with Prince Harry, why what is happening, what will happen next, and what has happened in the past. And as a consequence of people wanting to understand more about what has happened in the past, I have, pursuant to request, analysed the engagement interview that took place a number of years ago. This is instructive and is very useful for enabling people to understand more about a narcissist in action at a particular stage of the dynamic. This was back when seduction was in place. We are now in the position of sustained devaluation, and there is a considerable way to go yet, but those parts will be addressed as and when they arise. But for now, this video is going to focus upon dissecting the video, which many of you will have seen, and of course the point of the teaser trailer that was launched yesterday was to encourage you to go back and have a look at the interview to freshen it up in your mind. I know some of you may have been there with a chuck bucket next to you as you tried to stomach watching it, but well done on getting through it, because it is all part of the educational purpose of understanding more about narcissism. The interview is roughly 22 minutes in length and starts with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry sat on a sofa. I'm going to take you through what's going on. The interviewer commences with "Your Royal Highness, Meghan Markle," and just 4 seconds into the interview, you are able to see Meghan Markle's smile start to drop as a consequence of the difference in status being highlighted by this introduction. Meghan Markle is an unaware narcissist. I appreciate those of you who don't agree with that, but she is, and I've explained elsewhere why that is. You need to grasp that concept for the purpose of continuing to understand the analysis that I provide to you. The distinction in status, which of course is entirely accurate, is a threat to the control of the narcissist. It doesn't matter that he is your Royal Highness and she is not. That is irrelevant in the mind of the narcissist. In her world, she reigns supreme, although she doesn't know that. Her narcissism will interpret this as something else for her, to cause her to respond to this latent threat to her control. She does not sit there and think, this person is threatening my control by calling him your Royal Highness and just calling me Meghan Markle. I now need to do something to nullify that threat to her control. She is unaware, so her mind doesn't operate that way. Instead, what happens is her narcissism will tell her something. A thought will manifest, a feeling will arise, causing her to act upon it to nullify the threat to control. And in this instance, the fact that her smile starts to drop as a consequence of the difference in status being mentioned exhibits the threat to her control. However, the narcissism's facade management, because she is a mid-range narcissist, has to control the irritation caused by the remark. The smile returns because it is necessary for the narcissism to control her response, not by her turning and snapping at the interviewer, "Hey, bitch, why aren't you calling me by some kind of title?" Because, of course, that would damage the facade. Instead, it causes her to attempt to maintain the smile, and then the smile returns, and thanks is given to the interviewer. But note, the eyes are not smiling. And what we see here is a benign manipulation of issuing thanks, a supposed pleasantry, supposed politeness. But remember, coming from a narcissist, it is a manipulation because there's no emotional empathy and there is the need to assert control. I have a very good friend. He's an upper lesser type A narcissist. He doesn't know what he is. And he's a different type of narcissist to that of Meghan Markle. And I quite enjoy taking the mickey out of him because he is the proverbial dog with 6 dicks. He will shag a barber's floor. And when I take the piss out of him, he has enough about him to recognise that I'm joking with him, so he laughs along because other people are laughing at what I'm saying to him. But I always see that his eyes never laugh. The mouth forms the shape that is required for a laugh. The noise is emitted by him, which one would recognise as a laugh. But the top half of his face isn't laughing, because his narcissism is actually thinking, fuck you, Tudor. You are taking the piss out of our narcissist, and therefore threatening his control. It's similar here with Meghan Markle, that for a moment the narcissism shows as the smile drops ever so slightly, but then quickly asserts the facade, issues the compliment to ensure that control is maintained. In the early stages of the interview, we already see Meghan Markle repeatedly turning and staring at Harry. This is an invasion of personal space, failure of boundary recognition, and is the assertion of control. Of course, the uneducated would look at it and think, oh, how sweet, she's completely in love with him. But to those that are educated, looking at it through the prism of her narcissism, we see something else. The interviewer asks the question, was it an instant yes from you? Asking this of Meghan Markle when Harry popped the question. Meghan Markle states, yes, as a matter of fact, I could barely let him finishing proposing. I was saying, can I say yes now? This demonstrates an assertion of control, a sense of entitlement to prevent Harry from finishing the rather important matter of proposing to somebody. It demonstrates poor boundary recognition, and the fact of interrupting somebody is a form of manipulation as part of that assertion of control. Harry then confirms that this was the case and this was what was happened, and he says, I stated, can I give you the ring? Meghan Markle wasn't even allowing him to proffer the ring to her. This evidences a sense of entitlement and poor boundary recognition. At this juncture, the camera cuts back, allowing us to see the top halves of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle has hold of his left hand, her right arm over his left arm, her right hand holding his left hand, and her left hand placed over the top. Whilst one may expect some hand-holding as an affectionate gesture, this vice-like grip that she has him in denotes the assertion of control physically over Prince Harry. And the grip of doom is something that will be returned to later. In response to a question from the interviewer, the couple confirm that the engagement had taken place some 18 months after they first met, and this then prompts the interviewer to remark that this is quite a whirlwind situation. Identification of this demonstrates the love bombing that has gone on, the haste by which the narcissist must assert control over the victim, and the lack of emotional empathy for that victim in corralling them into a situation of further control by bringing about a relationship and engagement and thereafter marriage. Harry noticeably nods in agreement at the suggestion that it was quite the whirlwind, because it was, and he sees that it is, but he doesn't see the significance of this. Interestingly, the interviewer then asks if that is how it felt to you. Harry smiles in acknowledgement that it was a whirlwind, but this question posed to Meghan Markle is challenge fuel. The tone, the words that are used, and no doubt the expression on the interviewer's face, which is off camera and we can't see, is all fuel, so there's no problem there. But the question is a challenging one, because it's basically saying, your romance was too fast, it was whirlwind, which had a connotation of it as possibly being superficial. That threatens Meghan Markle's control in the moment. First of all, she turns to Prince Harry to see what his reaction is, the assertion of control over Prince Harry, and then states, I don't think that I would call it a whirlwind in terms of our relationship. Obviously, there have been layers attached to how public it has become. We had 5 to 6 months of privacy, which was amazing. But no, we just had so much time just to connect, and we never went 2 weeks more than seeing one another, whilst we were obviously doing a long-distance relationship. So we made it work. She doesn't actually really explain that it wasn't a whirlwind. But the interviewer then doesn't press the point any further, and instead shifts the emphasis to ask about how did the couple first meet. In her world, although she's unaware of this, Meghan Markle's response enables her to nullify the threat to control posed by this suggestion that it was a whirlwind romance. In her mind, the narcissism has done its job, rejecting that, although her explanation doesn't bear analysis to confirm that was the case. She just says no, and therefore, from her perspective, the threat has been nullified. The interviewer doesn't pursue the point any further, in effect dropping it, and therefore the narcissism has done its job. It's noteworthy that in the opening exchange, Prince Harry's expression changes repeatedly. He's reflective, he's listening, he smiles, he's enthusiastic, he's thoughtful, he bites his lip. Meghan Markle's expression alternates chiefly between a look of concentration, polite interest in what the interviewer is saying, and then a smile resolutely plastered on her face. It is as if there are only two settings at this juncture. This is the narcissism looking to find the appropriate response and not doing it entirely convincingly. Of course, the initiated would see nothing there, but those of us who understand narcissism, and those of you who've experienced the narcissist, will recognize the fakeness of what is being demonstrated here and the lack of different expressions that are occurring. We're now 2 minutes into the interview, and the hand gripping hasn't altered in the slightest. The iron-like grip, a certain control is maintained. At 2 minutes 50, Meghan Markle explains that although she now knows that there is global interest in the royal family, she says that she didn't know much about Harry. Or rather, she says she didn't know much about him. She doesn't call him Harry, and that is objectification. She refers to him as him, giving away, although she won't realise this, the objectified way in which she regards him. Furthermore, it lacks plausibility that she wouldn't know about him. First of all, she's working in Canada, which is a Commonwealth country. She's from the United States, where many people do know about the royal family and have a considerable interest. Not everybody, but many do. And of course, she idolised Diana. A childhood friend referred to her as having an obsession with Diana, that she wanted to be Diana 2.0. And therefore, it's inconceivable that she didn't know more about Prince Harry. Also, her friends warned her about involvement in terms of what the press might do to her. So again, she had some knowledge of what she was getting into and knowledge about the world of Prince Harry. And this statement demonstrates contradiction, the compartmentalization of the narcissist, that what has gone on in the past, the narcissism conveniently omits because it's not relevant in that moment for the assertion of control. And so the comment about, I didn't really know much about him, demonstrates that Harry is viewed as an object. He doesn't even merit being called by his name. Indeed, we have seen elsewhere in one of my earlier parts of this series, where they were in Africa, she referred to him by the name H, not even using his proper name. And if you listen to my video Pet, that tells you more about why narcissists use pet names. Accordingly, this early interaction has already established a number of indicators and forms of manipulation that we see as a consequence of the narcissistic dynamic. This ends 33.1. Join me for more analysis in the second section of the engagement interview analysis.